For Will Lewis right now, heading off to prison. He's in the custody of the Department of Corrections at this hour. That's a look at him in Greenville County's courtroom number 8, being taken out by SLED agents there after being sentenced this morning. Now, he was put into a cop car, as that's what happens after you get sentenced. There he is right there in that blue one. You won't see him, but he is off to Kirkland down in Columbia. That's where we expect him to be processed. And that's where they will decide where exactly he will go next. Of course, he will be protected, likely in prison. They're not going to put a sheriff just in the middle of thousands of inmates. They are worried about his security and safety, so that's something they will be looking at as well as they make a decision on where he will be housed for the next several months, serving out that sentence. Now, we did talk with Solicitor Brackett following his win in court today.
That's one of the dangers of going to trial, is that people get to see a lot more about it than they do at a guilty plea.
Well, we're disappointed in the sentence. This is certainly a case that I don't think deserved the maximum sentence, as I pointed out to the judge.
And that was Will Lewis's attorney there, not very happy as well with his client getting the maximum sentence possible. And we also can tell you this, we just caught up with Lewis's wife.
Of course, I'm disappointed with the outcome of the case, but I believe that I spoke clearly in the courtroom, and that is all I have to say.
And she did say that if he went to prison, it would hurt their family, and she wanted him to have house arrest, but that did not happen. Now we're looking at Savannah Neighbors. That's Will Lewis's former personal assistant, the woman who broke this case wide open when she filed a civil suit against him for sexual assault. That civil suit was settled for several $100,000. And now she's encouraging other women who have been victims of sexual assault to come forward.
It's important for the women that have been silenced to just say something. I hope that they find the courage to do that. I just want them to know that they are believed, they are strong, they are enough. You know, even when you can prove something, even if they tell you you're not brave enough, you're not strong enough, you should have been smarter, you should have done something else. You know, do the best you can and tell your story.
So now that Will Lewis is a convicted felon and he is now heading to prison, the seat of the Greenville County Sheriff is officially open. The governor had suspended him 2 years ago after he was indicted. Fox Carolina's Shale Remien's been inside the courtroom all week. She is there now with a wrap-up of our coverage of this drama-filled week.
Will Lewis said moments before his sentencing came down that he idolized being sheriff, that he put a lot of faith into it, but ultimately that he did not put enough faith into God. The judge responded that he was going to give him plenty of time to think that over, with up to a year in jail time.
I am truly sorry for what I have done that led me to this position.
5 days of testimony wrapped up, all to determine Will Lewis's fate. 1 year in prison.
You spent all that time and energy as the sheriff of Greenville County.
The max sentence was brought down on the former sheriff, saying his time focused on former assistant Savannah Neighbors robbed the county as a whole. Amy stood by her husband's side, saying God used the two to show what forgiveness looks like.
The enemy is not this man standing before the court today. The enemy is much, much greater. And he has the capability of residing in any one of us.
Solicitor Kevin Brackett argued Lewis tarnished the badge and defied public trust. With SLED spending more than 150,000 hours investigating Lewis, Brackett argues the verdict is fair.
People need to be held accountable, and it isn't enough that they just lose their job. That's what should happen at a minimum, is lose your job. To say that that's enough punishment, that's ridiculous.
Lewis's initial plea for house arrest to salvage his family was shut down. His attorney, Rock Weiss, says he's still mystified by the sentence.
Because there's a lot more good in that man's life than those 5 or 6 months of bad. If you don't want to be judged by the worst moment in your life, and I don't want to be judged by the worst case I've ever tried.
And we spoke to Will Lewis's attorney, Rock Weiss, moments after that sentencing came down. He does anticipate filing an appeal about 10 days from now. For now, Will Lewis will spend time in the Department of Corrections. In Greenville, I'm Shale Remien, Fox Carolina News.